a 20-year-old genius who can solve the most difficult math problems in just a few minutes. Yet in his personal life, he is so confused and broken that he cannot solve his own problems. The reason is his painful past, which has damaged him from the inside. This story teaches us that true success is not only about intelligence, it is also about facing your fears and weaknesses. No matter how talented we are, there are fears and emotional wounds inside us that stop us from moving forward. But if we find the courage, every problem can be solved. This is the story of Will Hunting. One day, Will is sitting at home reading a book when his best friend Chucky arrives in his car, as usual, and takes him out. Spending time with his friends has become a regular part of Will's daily life. At the same time, at the famous Massachusetts Institute of Technology, a respected mathematics professor named Gerald Lambeau is teaching his class. He is a well-known professor and even a Nobel Prize winner. During the lecture, he writes a very difficult math problem on the blackboard. He tells his students that whoever solves it will have their name published in the MIT newspaper. He explains that many students whose names were published before later became very successful and made important contributions to the world. Will works at MIT as a janitor. While cleaning the hallway, he notices the difficult problem written on the board. He stares at it for a few moments, and the entire question stays in his mind. He does not know anything about the challenge or the reward, but that night, he goes home and solves the problem on his own. The next day, while cleaning, he secretly writes his solution on the board. When Professor Lambeau sees that someone has attempted the problem, he rushes to check it. The answer is completely correct. He is shocked because only someone truly extraordinary could have solved it. He asks the entire class who did it, but no one admits it. The professor is confused. He has no idea that the janitor, Will, is the one who solved it. The following day, Will is playing baseball with his friends. There, he sees a guy who used to bully him when they were kids. At first, Will says nothing, but later, in anger, he and his friends attack the guy. The police arrive, and Will even misbehaves with the officers. As a result, he is arrested. Meanwhile, Professor Lambeau again asks his class who solved the problem, but no one comes forward, so he writes another problem on the board, one even harder than the first. In fact, it had taken the professor himself 2 years to solve it. In court, Will is presented before the judge. After being released on bail, he returns to MIT and solves the new problem as well. This time, the professor sees him. Will runs away when he notices the professor watching him. But when Lambeau checks the solution, he is stunned. The problem that took him 2 years to solve was completed by Will in just a few hours. Now he is sure Will is a true genius. That night, Will lies to his friends and tells them he was fired from his job. The truth is, he is hiding his real identity from everyone. Maybe he is afraid that if people know who he really is, his life will completely change. Later, they all go to a club. There, Chucky tries to impress a girl, but an arrogant college student walks in and starts showing off his education. He tries to embarrass Chucky. To defend his friend, Will steps forward and answers every question confidently, even giving references from books and page numbers. The arrogant student becomes silent. Will then tells him, "You spent thousands of dollars to learn this in college. I learned it for free by reading books in the library." The girl present there, Skylar, is impressed by Will's intelligence and expresses her desire to meet him again. On the other hand, the professor reaches the court, where he learns that Will has a criminal record. He was an orphan who grew up in foster homes, where he was not treated well. Perhaps that painful past is what made him so tough and defensive. The judge decides to send him to jail, but the professor intervenes. After speaking with the judge, the professor manages to secure an opportunity for Will. The condition is that Will must work under his supervision on mathematical research and also attend therapy sessions with the doctor. Only based on the therapist's report can he gain full freedom. Will agrees to work therapy. He laughs. He believes he can fool anyone. However, he has no other option, so he is forced to accept both conditions. After that, He solves another difficult problem and impresses the professor even more. The professor begins to feel proud of him. The next day, Will is supposed to meet the therapist, so he reads the therapist's book in advance to outsmart him with his own knowledge, and that is exactly what happens. In his very first session, Will starts attacking the therapist's personal life. He targets his past and weaknesses. As a result, the nervous therapist refuses to continue treating him. After that, another doctor tries to hypnotize Will, but he also fails. Will's mind is so sharp that no therapist can handle him for long. Seeing all this, the professor realizes that Will cannot be managed in an ordinary way, so he turns to his old friend Sean for help. Sean is a psychology professor at a college and was once Professor Gerald's roommate. Professor Gerald tells Sean everything about Will, that he is a rare diamond who does not know his own worth. He is not an ordinary boy, but possesses extraordinary intelligence, like the great mathematician Srinivasa Ramanujan. After hearing all this, Sean agrees to take Will's therapy case. The next day, Will is called to Sean's office. The professor has already warned Sean that Will is extremely intelligent, so he should handle him carefully. Will walks in with the intention of disturbing this new therapist as well and forcing him to give up. The professor leaves the room, and Sean begins talking to Will alone. Sean's office is filled with books. When Will sees them, he immediately starts making sarcastic comments and speaks to Sean in a rude tone. His intention is clear: he wants Sean to lose his temper and give up, just like the other therapists. But Sean understands that this is just another one of Will's tricks, so he stays calm and composed. Then Will notices a painting hanging on the wall, one that Sean painted himself. While looking at it, Will begins to analyze it. He says that the painting is actually about Sean himself. A small boat trapped in a violent storm, the sky crashing down above, and a man alone in the middle of the ocean, close to drowning, struggling to reach the shore, but frozen with fear. Will says this is not just a painting, it is the story of your life. Maybe you chose to become a psychologist to escape your own pain. Even though Will calls Sean a coward, Sean still controls himself. When Will realizes his words are not affecting Sean, he crosses the line and says something disrespectful about Sean's wife. The moment Sean hears this, his patience finally breaks. In a firm and serious tone, he warns Will never to speak about his wife like that again. If you ever say another disrespectful word about her, I will not tolerate it. Seeing Sean's reaction, Will understands that this is his weak point. But Sean grabs him firmly and makes it clear that there are certain boundaries that cannot be crossed. Will makes an excuse that the session is over and walks out. He feels proud, thinking he has shaken another therapist. But Sean remains quiet and thoughtful. When the professor sees this, he realizes that Sean might be the only person who can truly reach Will. Will refuses to attend the next session, but Sean does not give up. He insists that Will come back. Meanwhile, Will goes on a date with Skylar. He learns that she comes from a wealthy family and studies at Harvard University. They begin to like each other, and their time together goes well. In the next therapy session, Sean speaks openly to Will. He tells him that although he is very intelligent, he is still just a kid emotionally. You have read about life in books, but you have not truly lived it. Books can give you information, but they cannot give you feelings. Real life is much deeper and more beautiful than anything written in a book. Sean says that if you had ever truly loved someone, you would know that the joy of spending time with the person you love cannot be described by any book. You can read about love, pain, and sacrifice, but until you experience them yourself, you will never truly understand. Then Sean shares his own truth. His wife had cancer. She spent the last months of her life lying in a hospital bed, holding Sean's hand. Even today, he loves her deeply. That is why he could not tolerate Will speaking badly about her. Sean says that when you love someone more than your own life, watching them slowly die is a pain that no book can ever explain. He looks into Will's eyes and tells him that you may think you are very smart, but real understanding comes when you learn to feel life with your heart. Then Sean shares the truth about his life. His wife was suffering from cancer. She spent the last months of her life lying in a hospital bed, holding Sean's hand. Even today, Sean loves her deeply. That is why he could not tolerate it when Will spoke badly about her. Sean says that when you love someone more than your own life, the pain of watching them slowly die is something no book can ever describe. He looks directly into Will's eyes and tells him, "You think you are very intelligent, but real understanding comes when you start feeling life with your heart." After saying this, Sean leaves the room. Will realizes that he made a mistake, but his pride still holds him back. The next day, he goes to work at a construction site with Chucky. In the evening, he calls Skylar, but when she answers, he hangs up without saying anything. A strange fear has taken hold of his heart. In the third therapy session, Will remains silent. Sean also stays quiet. The entire session passes in silence. Sean understands that Will is still playing psychological games, so he patiently waits. Meanwhile, Will is performing brilliantly in mathematical research. He solves complex problems that even experienced mathematicians have been unable to solve for years. Professor Gerald is amazed. To him, it feels nothing short of a miracle. In the fourth session, Will finally breaks the silence and tells Sean a joke. Sean has been waiting for this moment. He asks Will about his girlfriend. Will says that he is seeing Skylar, and that she is different from other girls. However, he avoids talking to her too much because he is afraid of ruining something beautiful. He loves her, but deep inside, he is scared. He fears that if Skylar finds out he is an orphan, she will leave him. Sean explains that no one in this world is perfect. All of us have strengths and weaknesses. Then he talks about his wife again. With a small smile, he says that his wife had a strange habit. She used to make loud noises in her sleep, and once even their dog woke up in fear. Hearing this, Will laughs. Then Sean becomes serious and says that his wife passed away 2 years ago, and he still misses those little habits of hers every day. Sean says that in love, being perfect is not necessary. You are not perfect, and neither is Skylar. But if you truly love each other, you can become perfect for one another. Will begins to feel influenced by Sean's words. On the other hand, Professor Gerald suggests that Sean should remarry, but Sean clearly refuses. He says he loved his wife so deeply that no one can ever take her place. In one session, Will asked Sean, "Do you ever regret meeting your wife? If you had never met her, maybe you wouldn't feel this much pain today." Sean smiles and replies, "No, I have no regrets." Then he begins to tell Will how he first met his wife, Nancy. Sean tells him that he once went with his friends to watch a historic baseball game, the 1975 World Series Game 6. He and his friends stood in line all night to get tickets. They finally got them, but before the game started, while sitting in a bar, he saw a girl, Nancy. The moment he saw her, he fell in love. He made a life-changing decision. He left the game and stayed with Nancy instead. Later, he watched the match on television, but he never regretted his choice, because meeting Nancy was the most valuable decision of his life. He spent the best years of his life with her. Sean explains that the feeling of love is greater than any game or achievement. That is why he does not regret missing the match, and he does not regret the pain of losing Nancy, because true love always stays alive in the heart. Hearing this, Will becomes completely silent. Sean's simple words finally reach his heart. Slowly, Will starts getting closer to Skylar. Soon, Skylar is about to move to California, and she asks Will to come with her, but Will becomes afraid. He feels he is not good enough for her. During an argument, Skylar tells him, "I know you are lying. You don't have 12 brothers, but I still love you." Hearing this, Will breaks down and finally tells the truth. He admits that he is an orphan and that he suffered a lot of abuse during his childhood. He says the scars are still on his body. Skylar tries to comfort him, but in anger and fear, Will tells her that he does not love her and walks away. Now Will is completely broken inside. He is a genius in mathematics, but lost in his own life. He even receives a job offer from the National Security Agency as a code breaker. However, Sean understands that Will's real problem is not his career, it is the wound in his heart. Sean explains that Will's behavior is a defense mechanism. Before anyone can leave him, he pushes them away first. so he does not have to feel the pain again. That is why he has not allowed anyone to come close to him for 20 years. One day, Will stands outside the door and overhears Sean arguing with Professor Gerald. Sean says that Will's childhood wounds are still fresh. He needs love and trust, not pressure. Later, Sean shows Will his case file, which contains pictures from the abuse he suffered as a child. Sean also shares his own painful past. His father was an alcoholic who used to beat him. Both of them open up about their scars. Then Sean gently says, "What happened to you was not your fault." Will replies, "Okay." Sean repeats, "No, it was not your fault." As Sean keeps saying those words again and again, Will finally breaks. He pushes Sean at first, but then he collapses into his arms and cries uncontrollably. Maybe for the first time in his life, he feels the support of someone like a father. Time passes, and Will gets a job at a company. In the final therapy session, Sean gives him his phone number and says, "If you ever need anything, call me." The next day is Will's birthday. His friends surprise him by giving him an old car as a gift. Will takes the car and drives straight to Sean's house, where he leaves a letter. In the letter, it says, "Tell the professor I'm sorry. I have to go see about a girl." Sean smiles when he reads it. He understands immediately. Just like he once left a historic baseball game, the 1975 World Series Game 6, for the love of his life, Will is now leaving his job to go to Skylar, because a career can be found again. But true love does not come again and again. And with that, the story comes to an end. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments which part of the story touched you the most.